Hello, welcome back to Jay from Jay Books, where today we're in a slight book corner-ish, and I just want to quickly come in here and start this reading vlog. It is Tuesday. I should have started a few days ago, but I'm in a bit of a reading slump. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't know if Friend Zone was the best choice for me to jump into, or I was going through a period of time where I was reading so many books I was so excited for back to back to back. Then we went on this trip, and my mental health since coming back from this trip has been up and down a little bit. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but I've had a rough reading time. I'm currently reading Bury Our Bodies All the Way Down by V.E. Schwab. That is a 5-star prediction, so all I can really tell you is, hey, we're reading it. I'm enjoying it. It's kind of cute and fun, but I'm not very far. I'm like 20% into it maybe, and I wish I had more news for you. That's all I can really say. Well, we got stuff to talk about. It's been a minute, I feel like, since I updated you. Unintentionally, I went and saw I Know What You Did Last Summer twice. I've seen a few. I'm seeing a movie tonight. It's our day off, by the way. My husband is downstairs. I'm working on a few work stuff because this is the day to do it tomorrow. I have read some things since the last time we talked. I did end up finishing Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil is a 5-star prediction, so all I can really tell you about it is the fact that it is a vampire story taking place between 3 different timelines, well, 3 different characters. It takes place between 3 different characters, all kind of interconnected by the end. I can't tell you the rating. I can't really tell you my thoughts and feelings on it because it is a 5-star prediction. That video should be coming to you in the next few weeks. It's the final 5-star prediction of 2025 as well, which is pretty crazy. I think this is the first year that I'm going to end up posting them all, but not like in a wrap-up video where they're actually going to go out. So that's kind of crazy. Then quickly after that, because I'm not going to lie, this has nothing to do with the book and my feelings and anything or those lines. This is just a simple answer, is that this kind of put me in a reading slump. It was a very slight little reading slump, but it did take me like 6 or 7 days to read, and I've already talked about this on this channel in a previous video for the Red Queen series. Normally books take me 1 or 2 days to read, 1 to 3 days. I go through them very quick, even if they're really long, and this was a really long book. I had to pick it up and put it down several different times. I'll talk about a bit more in why I think this is the case in that video for the 5-star prediction. Then I read The Babysitter Lives by Stephen Graham Jones. This was a mixed bag for me personally. I'm not a huge fan of what it did or what it was trying to do. I'm gonna give points A for effort for it, to be honest with you. I gave it a 3.25. This is about a babysitter. She's about to go off to college. She's about to do all these things, and she ends up being recommended for this job for this night, and the house is haunted, and so it's a haunted house story, but it's a few other things as well. That's what I got for you. And then the next one I read, I can tell you the rating for it is for a video coming soon, and that is a Happy Ever After playlist. I read the entire thing yesterday by Abby Mendez, and I very much enjoyed this a lot better than the first one. I can't really tell you what this book is about because it does spoil the big plot points of the first novel, and having read the author's note and the Goodreads author's note, which is something that this author does, and I think that's beautiful. I think I might do that as well. But having read both of those sections of that story, I am very much aware of why the friend zone didn't work. So that was kind of interesting to see the hyperrealization of it all. I do have the 3rd book on hold, so we'll see when it comes in, but I did read The Friend Zone by Abby Mendez. I gave it a 4. It follows a character who has gone through something traumatic, and she is slowly trying to come back from this, and a dog ends up coming into her life, and this dog, its owner, is a rock star, and so it's a rock star romance, which I had no idea about. It's very cute, very sweet, and it's very much more like these 2 people are very much liking each other, and the conflict is outside of the relationship that leads to some 3rd act-y bullshitty stuff. I didn't like the 3rd act. I didn't like the one particular thing. But I'll talk about that in its spoiler video as well. Alright, that being said, the next book that I have started is With a Vengeance by Riley Sagar. I'm 15% into that. I'm nervous. Last year, I read whatever his newest one was before this. I can't remember what that one was called. Let me see if I can't. The one with the house, Middle of the Night. I read that last year, and I was like, this is the truest middle of the line you could middle of the line, right? And I read 2 Riley Sagars last year, kind of really close back to back. I didn't like either of them. I was like, I'm done. But when I read Middle of the Night, I was supposed to sit down and do this whole wrap-up for Riley Sagar, talking about why I'm quitting him in my reviews for each book, and explaining a little bit more in depth about some of these things. And that was like the plan okay? But it didn't end up happening for whatever reason. You know, life happened. It was in November, so it was like a really hectic time period. And so now we're back here again in July, and I'm gonna try this whole thing again. So you should see a whole video talking about Riley Sager's like 9. That's my update for it. I'm reading With a Vengeance. It's the next one I started. However, it follows a woman. She invites a group of people onto a train that destroyed her life, and she wants vengeance for it, and so that's what she's getting, or she's trying to get. And there's some other stuff going on, but a lot of it I don't really, it's just meandering for me. But it's for a video for Riley Sager, which I think will probably end up coming out, this is July, right? In August, because it's going to be too long to edit for this month, I have a feeling. It's like a 3.75 to a 4. Hello! But I've read a few things, so I figured you guys deserved a bit of an update. Yesterday, I finished With a Vengeance. I went on a solid 3. There's objectively nothing this book did wrong. There's also objectively nothing this book did right, if that makes any sense. It's mediocre at best, down the line. Then I read Road to Ruin again. This is a book I read last year. I started the sequel, got really confused. I was like, nope, gonna put that on pause. Let's read the first book again. So I read that. This is about a woman who is someone who rides through these storms in this world. I think Mad Max, Fury Road. And she is a courier, so she drives a mag bike, which is a magic infused bicycle to help her survive. And she's delivering these letters between this prince and princess. In this world, women get married off to other women and stuff, but you cannot marry a man. Like kind of the reversal fact. And so these are secret letters from these two kingdoms, and they're going back and forth. And I liked it. I liked it as much as I read it the first time. That was a 4-star. Would recommend. I have picked up the sequel. I couldn't tell you what it's called, which apparently it's a duology. So then I read Breakaway in season 1, The Chase, which seems like it's a story set in a dark world, somewhat medieval, but also like modern-esque, also Mad Max inspired, it seems, where this woman is just trying to survive. And there's all these other things, and there's these group of people, and you know, is really what it seems like, but I didn't really get a good vibe, and I just thought it was okay, so I gave it a 3.25. Plus, the artwork, because it is very violent, did take me out quite a bit. Other reading stuff, I am currently reading GSR Book 1, doing my reread of it, so I can go through the process, so when I start to make my changes in GSR Book 3 for Draft 2, that's also what's going on right now. Alright, those are all my updates. Tonight we're gonna go see Fantastic Four. I'm very excited. We're gonna go see in DVOX in 3D, which is the first experience of my life. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited nonetheless. Today I read 3 things, and I figured I'd come in here and update you. So I read High Class Homos, and that's the title. I'm gonna put it over here on the screen. This is volume 1. This is a webcomic. This is the most requested graphic novel on NetGalley at the moment, and I was like, sure, I'll throw my hat in the ring and see if I get a copy. I got a copy. I read it. It was okay. I gave it a 3.5. It's cute. It's very sweet, and there's not a lot of drama or anything. It's for these two people who live in a somewhat fantastical world. I say somewhat because there's like knights and stuff, but it's like very bare bones when you come fantastical. And it's about these two people who like each other, or who are best friends, who decide that they want to marry one another because they're both gay, and they both can have, like, he can have his knight and be his bodyguard, and she can have like a maid in honor who is like her actual like lover, and it's about their journeys together. That's what that one's about. The next one I read was Tower Dungeon number 1. Tower Dungeon is from the same creators who made Blame. And just like with Blame, I couldn't really tell you what this is about. These are about knights who end up going into this tower where these creatures live. That's all I can really tell you. All I can tell you is that I had a good time and I would recommend it. I think it's enjoyable enough to want to read. So I gave it a 3.5. Then lastly, we have Fight of the Fallen by Hannah Lee. I'm going to give this a 4. I did read the whole thing yesterday. I was so confused. Even after rereading the first book, I was still so confused. There's just a disconnect between the first and second book. It does end on a pretty satisfying conclusion, so I would recommend the duology, but I have no desire to talk about it ever again. I also not gonna tell you what this one's about because it is a sequel and it does take place after some of the events. I do think people are still going to be aggravated with the choices that this author has made when it comes to a very certain a dynamic in the book, but I gave it a 4. On the same, honestly, it's probably like a 3.5. I don't know. I might change it to a 3.5, but there you go. I started the third book, Life's Too Short, in the final book in this trilogy for Javier Mendez. I just ran through them apparently, but I read it. I'm enjoying it so far. I can understand why people don't like this one though. Welcome to, July 29th. We are at the end of July. We are down to the final 2 days, today and tomorrow. Tomorrow I do have work, and tomorrow, oh my god, my babies are laying together. Sorry, you guys are already on tripod, so I didn't feel like taking you off tripod, try to get a photo, or maybe they would move. But I read quite a bit since last time we talked, unintentionally. I just have been running through some graphic novels that I had. You know how it goes sometimes. So we're currently up to 27 books this month, which that sounds about right. I was really nervous that we weren't going to get there. So I did finish Life is Too Short. I read it in a single day from the time that I started it to, the whole day. I read the whole day. I gave it a 4.5. It's definitely my favorite out of that series. I'm excited to bring that series overview video to you guys next month. That is on the list. And then I read White Widow, Welcome to Idlehaven. This was a 3.75. It takes place in a few different other stories, so I was a little lost throughout most of it, but I enjoyed the action. I felt like the writing was okay. It's just Sarah Gailey. Nothing super amazing in my opinion, but the artwork also, I didn't like. I don't know why this is a 3.7. This is like a 3.25. Ignore me. I read Agent Cupcake by Lauren Davis. This was an ER. I love this. This was a 5-star. Have no complaints. This is a probably more along the lines like a middle grade, but also like young age middle grade for children. Paperback where we're following a kid who's becoming, he can see magical creatures and he's learning how to become a detective inside this world. And we're following Agent Cupcake, and the book is actually teaching you things about spycraft because one of the writers was a spy and all this sort of fun stuff, and it's really cute, really fun. I highly recommend it when it does come out. Absolutely loved it. One of my favorites of the year, which is crazy because it's like a really young kids book, but in every spot. I wish I had it when I was a child. I didn't read it all the fucking time. Then I went through some manga. I'm not really happy that I read these, but we're going to talk about them anyways because I read them and I'm very candid for you. I read Happiness Volume 3. Happiness is a series that I'm addicted to that I should not be reading because it's so inappropriate and so wrong. Essentially, you're following these teenagers who become vampires. There's already a vampire in this world. However, they all look like they're like 10-ish years old. I can't really speak on any of that. You know what I mean? And they're in some really interesting things. But there's such cool stuff they're doing with it that like I want to continue, so I will probably continue. I went in on 3.5. Then I read Kazan, which is volume 1. It's about a woman who ends up having her face stolen, and the face that she is given is disfigured. And it's about her life and trying to get her face back. I was really bored. Didn't like it. Didn't really care for it whatsoever. I went on 2.5. Wouldn't really recommend. Then I read Detovia Volume 3. Detovia Volume 3 is another series that I do think I'm officially done with, even though the really like nasty stuff that's going on here, not very intriguing. The villains I'm super intrigued by. I'm very intrigued by, even if I'm extremely disturbed. Like, oh my god, high levels of disturbance, but I'm so intrigued. This follows a group of people. They're like spies, they're women, you can tell by the cover kind of book this is. And they're saving lives while also having horrible things. It's not great. I gave it a 1.5. This was atrocious. I remember the second book being atrocious. I don't know why I read the third, but I did. Why I read the fourth? Who knows? And then I started Midnighter. Midnighter is a gay Batman, which is how it was sold to me. And I would say it reminds me of like a lot of like a mixture between Batman, Daredevil, a little bit of Bullseye, a little bit of Punisher in there as well. If they were. And so I read Midnighter Volume 1 and Volume 2. I'm just going to throw Volume 1's cover to make it easier on myself. They're both 4 stars. He's also in a relationship with Apollo, which is like a Superman type character, and they're very cute, and it's very violent and very gay. It's exactly what I wanted from it, so I'm very happy that I read them. And we're gonna read. They did a spin-off out of this series called Midnighter and Apollo, which is what I'm gonna read next. This was a spin-off of a Nightwing series that I would have probably had read because I like the idea that it is. I just couldn't find it for free. So I was like, it's fine. And I wasn't super confused. Once you get into it, it's pretty much its own thing. It's just the character's version comes from that iteration. And then it's Blood at the Root by Ladarian Williams. This is a magical novel. All black characters in here have magical powers. You don't just because you are black doesn't mean you get magical powers. Are following a boy, his mom is murdered, or his mom has something done to him in front of him, and he is blamed for her murder that she's missing. He's saying these guys came in these coats, no one believes him. He gets sent into a foster home. In this foster home, he ends up meeting Alexis, who ends up also disappearing at some point in his life, and he's meeting this little boy who ends up becoming his brother, and he ends up like doing all these things to protect him. He's in and out of other homes. He's pretty very rough by the time we first meet him. And he realizes that he has family in Louisiana, and so they end up going to Louisiana, and he ends up meeting and learning that these magical abilities that he's always had, that he never really understood, his mom had, and she went to this college, and he ends up going to this college, and yeah, that's the whole point. I'm 40% into it. I'm really liking it so far. There's aspects of it that I don't like, that I think could be like a lot stronger, but I'm still liking it. I finished the book I was reading. I finished Blood the Rich yesterday. I gave it a 4. I really liked it. I would recommend it if you're a fantasy reader. Also, we have Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, which I've also read part 2 of. We're going to finish this today. That's part of the reason I'm coming in here. It's one of the ones we're going to be reading today. And another one that we're going to be reading today is Midnighter and Apollo, which I'm excited about. I think both those are going to end up around the 4 situation. That's my update for it. Hello, let's talk about the books and finish out this reading vlog so we can close out. July is officially over. It's now officially my little sister's birthday. That's exciting. She doesn't watch my YouTube, and I can officially say that her novel is going to be to her done. There'll be a whole video talking about that as well. I have not even started working on that. That being said, I finished Midnighter Apollo. This is a spin-off of the Midnighter series. It's a graphic novel of DC characters, really prevalent gay DC characters. Apollo is based around Superman. Midnighter is based around Batman. It follows them. They're doing worldly things. I really liked it. It's a mini-series, so it's all combined into one issue, and I had a good time. I would recommend. Then I also finished, I gave it a 5. I also finished Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I will not tell you my rating, as there will be a spoiler review coming up relatively shortly on my channel. Very excited about. I'm about to film the exit for that as well. If you like the Hunger Games, and if you didn't like Songbirds and Snakes, I can tell you this much. It is much better than that. And I can also tell you that I would recommend it. I can understand why it has a lot of hype. It deserves it, in my opinion. Also, that movie's gonna be interesting. I always think that about Hunger Games book. And then I also started the Lady Midnight, which is the first book in the Dark Artifice. I still don't really understand how to explain this to you because it's the 4th book in the Shadowhunter series, but essentially we're following Emma Carstairs as she believes something was done wrong, and she is taken upon herself to solve this mystery that she believes is a mystery. It also follows the Blackborns. This has 2 of my favorite characters of all time in it, and I'm really excited to be here. I read 40% nonstop. Like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, I would have finished it today if I could, but I can't because we gotta be relatively early in the morning for my little sister's birthday. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. If you guys did, please let me know in the comments down below. I'll talk to you all next time. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.